Hey guys, and welcome to another video of Ashes of Creation Alpha. In this video I will show you all you need to know to be a good bard and fully understand the class mechanics. The bard is one of the most complicated archetypes in Ashes of Creation, and it's hard to understand how to play it, so I will be helping you with that. Let's start with the basics and abilities. The bard is a support damage dealer class that has potential to deal massive damage that can sometimes be comparable to even mages. First, you have the resonant weapon, which is your passive that will be unlocked at level 5 and grants you various finisher buffs depending on which melody you have active. It gains 1 resonance stack on every ability you cast, which will boost your weapon finisher by consuming up to 4 stacks. So the main idea is that you have to cast as many abilities as you can to keep boosting your finisher. Now let's talk about the melodies. You have 5 options, each of them provides unique buffs. You don't have to wait for its channel to be done, you can overlap it with other abilities during its channel time. And they stay active until you either play a different melody or turn it off. So the 5 options are: first, the menacing melody. It will grant a 10% damage buff for you and all your party members, and will make your weapon finisher deal an extra arcane damage and apply shock to target. This is very good for shattering effect and will deal massive damage. Second, you have the cathartic melody. It will give you and your party members a chance to lifesteal on hit. It will also make your finisher deal an extra bleed damage and apply wounded to targets. Third, you have the cheerful melody. It will increase the healing received for you and your party members and passively slightly healing them every 2 seconds. It will also make your finisher restore HP to your allies. Fourth, the pensive melody. It will provide mana regen for you and your party. It will also make your finisher restore mana to you or your allies. Last but not least, the epic melody. It will provide movement speed boost and stamina regen. It will also make your finisher dispel you and your allies. Now let's talk about your actual abilities. Every ability that's square shaped is inactive, while circle shaped are passives. First, you have your basic Jest or Mock, which is a shared cooldown. When targeting allies you heal and increase their movement speed, and when targeting enemies you damage them and reduce their damage output. This ability on default has 1 button for Jest and Mock, but you can separate them once you click on them in your skill tree. Now Discordance Notes. This is a damaging ability that can bounce between targets and deal a lot of damage. It has some travel time which can be used to your advantage and applies staggers to target. But be careful when using it in dangerous areas, because it might bounce and pull unwanted enemies. Get off the stage. This is also a damaging ability that will push enemies away and make them get snared, or disarmed if they are already staggered, so preferably use it after Discordance Notes. Chilling Lament. This is a channeled ability that will deal damage during its channel time, and will reduce the attack speed and movement speed to whoever gets caught in it. Dark Lullaby. This is a channeled ability that will deal damage during its channel time and won't wake up incapacitated enemies during its channeling, and on the final tick will stun incapacitated enemies, so preferably use it after Mesmerizing Dance, which I will talk about later in the video. Anthem of Alacrity. This is a short channeled buff that can grant attack speed and cast speed to either one target or AoE with reduced buff. Hymn of Mind. This is a short channeled buff that refill mana to either one target or AoE with reduced mana. Lovely Serenade. This is a short channeled buff that heal HP to either one target or AoE with reduced healing, with its upgrade Spirited Serenade, which will boost the healing further. Gambit. This is a targeted ability that will swap your HP with someone else in your party, and grants whoever lost more HP increased healing received. Clever Retort. This is also a targeted ability that will silence your target and interrupt their cast. Endless Jest, which will increase the charges of your Jest or Mock by 1. Fierce Wit, which will make your Jests deal more damage and set enemies on fire if they have 2 or more active debuffs. Marionette will make a target dance for 10 seconds or until they lose 10% of their HP. Will also make them deal less damage when it ends. Misdirection. This ability has no effect whatsoever now because of aggro bugs, but it can dispel you in PvP or PvE if you are silenced or stunned. Now let's talk about the dances. Firstly, you have the Shielding Dance. This dance will heal all your allies in radius on every tick and grants them shield on the first tick that touches them. With its upgrade, Mighty Step will give you another stack of resonance when your shield is depleted. The Maddening Dance. This dance will damage enemies in its radius. With its upgrade, Avert Your Gaze, which will reduce the damage of your enemies and their physical medication. Last but not least, the Nimble Dance, which will give you evasion and movement speed to you and your party. And lastly, Mesmerizing Dance, which will incapacitate enemies in its radius and stun them if they are staggered, for example after Discordance Notes. Or you can use Lullaby right after it, which won't wake them up and will stagger them at the last tick. Now we are done with the abilities, so let's go over them really quick. Melodies are active buffs that stays until you turn them off. Dances are channeled buffs or debuffs. Mesmerizing Dance can be comboed really nicely, especially in PvP. Hymn is mana, Serenade is heal, Alacrity is attack speed. Lullaby and Lament are channeled damage abilities. Discordance, Get Off the Stage are damaging abilities. Retort is silence, Marionette is a stun, which is amazing in PvP. Jest or Mock are damage or heal. Now let's get into the passives. Dynamism, this is self-explanatory. After you dash, you give your allies movement speed. Merriment, each time you heal, you have a chance to heal others and increase their mitigation. Dance Mastery, you can choose either power or energy. Power will make your dance radius bigger after a dash, which is nice in case you dash into someone and then Mesmerizing Dance, cause you can incapacitate more enemies in bigger radius. On the other hand, energy will make your dashes charges only 1 instead of 2, but you get a dash charge every time you complete a dance. And now to the important ones. Song Mastery, you can choose either Harmony or Dissonance. Harmony will increase the effect of one of your abilities during its matching melody, as shown in the list. The increase is 30%. On the other hand, Dissonance will give 2 of your allies Discordance Notes charges when you use an ability during its counter melody, as shown in the list. I would always go with Harmony because, as I said before, notes might pull extra unwanted mobs and get you wiped. Also, if you are using Mana Melody, the Harmony will increase the effect of Hymn, which will grant more mana, and if you are using Damage Melody, the Harmony will increase the effect of Lullaby, which is even more damage. Other melodies are irrelevant in general. And now Music Mastery. You can choose either Crescendo or Counterpoint. Crescendo will increase the effect of your melody by 50% over the course of 20 seconds to reach its maximum potential. So Menacing Melody, for example, will become 15% damage instead of 10. On the other hand, we have Counterpoint, which will allow you to play 2 melodies at the same time, but you need to keep refreshing them every 20 seconds. This is a lot of time waste. As I mentioned before, only Pensive and Menacing Melodies are good. And if you have 2 bards in your party, then you don't need Counterpoint at all. Unless you are 1 bard in a party, which people will actually request as a mana bot. So 50% increased from the Harmony buff and 30% increase to the Hymn will be better. You can also understand this more once we talk about the orbs. So as a bard, you can have 3 orbs active at each time. Yellow orbs, which will increase your HP healing. Blue orbs, which will increase your mana refilling. Red orbs, which will increase your damage output. And since healing in general is not your main role, you shouldn't be using yellow buffs at all, especially that they are really bad. You have Joy, which will grant your allies 10% of your max HP for 30 seconds on a 30 seconds cooldown and will grant you a yellow orb. Or Triumph, which will grant your allies 10% max HP and stamina regen for 30 seconds on a 30 seconds cooldown. Blue orbs, on the other hand, you have 2 options. Wonder, which will increase the magical damage of your party by 10% and will grant you a blue orb, or Destiny, which will increase the critical physical chance by 15%. And lastly, red orbs, which you can get by either casting Conflict or Chaos. Conflict is the counterpart to Wonder, and will increase the physical damage of your party by 10% and grants you a red orb. Or Chaos, which is the counterpart of Destiny, and will increase the critical magical chance by 15%. Now let's talk about your ultimate abilities, which are the Sagas. They are really bad, I don't recommend using them at all, but I'll go through them really quick. Sagas are determined by which 3 orbs you have active, and will consume them to be casted. So 3 red orbs will cast the Apocalypse, which will deal a bit more damage than the Lullaby or Lament, at the cost of losing 15% damage from the red orbs. 3 blue orbs will cast the Silent Pantheon, which will throw small circles around you that can grant different buffs based on its color, from health to magic power to movement speed, etc. It's pretty chaotic and you can't tell which is which, also you will lose the 3 blue orbs to cast it. 3 yellow orbs will cast the Return to Vera, which is an AoE heal that heals almost the same as Serenade. at the cost of losing the increased healing from the yellow orbs. Having one orb of each will cast the Myth of Creation, which applies the debuffs to enemies that are only useful in PvP. But let's be real, you wouldn't have one orb of each in PvP, and it's pretty useless in PvE as you can see. Now, having 2 red orbs and 1 blue orb will cast the Horrors of the Void, which is a viable saga that will push enemies and damage them with electricity. The damage is really nice and can apply the shattering effects if the target is frozen. And if you are on Menacing Melody buff and you have 3 red orbs, you can just cast 1 blue orb to replace one of them and then cast the saga. And lastly, having 2 blue orbs and 1 yellow will cast Heroes of the Ages Past. This saga will reduce gravity and increase movement speed of your party. This can be really useful to navigate impassable terrains or get out of sticky situations. And if you are a mana bard that has 3 blue orbs, you can cast 1 yellow buff just to cast the saga if needed. Now let's talk about the viable builds. In general, each party needs 2 bards. One can be on Pensive Mana Melody and take Hymn of Mind and try to use blue buffs to get the 3 blue orbs and increase the mana refilling to the maximum potential. It can also be further optimized by your weapon finisher tree to trigger mana healing effects. While the other should be on Menacing Melody and use only red buffs to get the 3 red orbs that will increase his damage output to the maximum, while buffing the rest of the party's damage. So there are 3 scenarios. Now let's say your party are mainly physical. Then the mana bard should cast Destiny to grant the physical damage dealers crit chance, and their damage bard should cast Conflict to grant the physical damage dealer damage buff. With this combination, your fighters or archers will get 10% damage from Conflict, 15% damage from Menacing Melody, and 15% crit chance, while always being full on mana. And if your party is mainly magical damage dealers, then the mana bard should cast Wonder and the damage bard should cast Chaos. With this combination, your mages will get 10% damage from Wonder, 15% damage from Menacing Melody, and 15% crit chance, and will always be full on mana. And the third scenario is if your party is balanced, which is a mix between physical and magical damage dealers. In this case, the mana bard will cast Wonder and the damage bard will cast Conflict. This way, all your party members will get 10% damage output from the buffs and 15% damage output from the Menacing Melody, but no crit chance, while also always being full on mana. So now, what are the must-have abilities for each type of bards? So for the mana bot, you need Pensive Melody, Hymn of Mind, Crescendo, Harmony, and Wonder or Destiny to grant you the 3 blue orbs for the maximum mana output. For the damage bot, you need Menacing Melody, Crescendo, Harmony, Anthem, and Conflict or Chaos to grant you the 3 red orbs for maximum damage output. For the healing bot, which is only viable if you don't have a cleric in your party, this bard class can use Counterpoint and use Cheerful and Cathartic Melody together. Harmony, Serenade, Shielding Dance, and Triumph to grant you the 3 yellow orbs for maximum healing output. So in conclusion, Counterpoint is bad. But why is that? Because every bard wants to do his job effectively, and 50% increase on the melody's effect is massive. And since, for example, Menacing Melody bard will want to have 3 red orbs to increase his damage output, if he uses Counterpoint with Pensive Melody as well, it won't be a good mana refill because the lack of blue orbs and the 50% extra from Crescendo. And Dissonance is bad, but why is that? Because for example, the Pensive Melody bard will want to increase his mana filling abilities, including the 30% increase to the Hymn from Harmony, instead of throwing extra Discordance notes. And Damage bard will want to deal more damage with his abilities, including the 30% increased damage to Lullaby from Harmony as well. While giving your party members extra Discordance notes charges is also nice damage, but to proc Dissonance on Menacing Melody you need to cast Serenade, which you won't be casting too often. Hope this video helped you if you are struggling, and see you in the next one.